Hey dumplings, it's Dave Desai. Today I want to talk about some newer updates on BTS, or specifically Jin and his military status. This has come from Jin himself and the Korean government, so I have a lot to say. I also want to get into people being upset with HYBE and BTS after they plan on releasing something. So, hate it or not, make sure you're subscribed with the notification bell on. Grab a dumpling, a teaspoon mug merch, and let's get into it. So if you aren't aware, BTS plans on releasing a few things in the next upcoming week or so, and it's very exciting. First off, Bad Decisions with Benny Blanco will be released within the first week of August, and that is a full-blown BTS x Benny collab. I imagine it could have a similar vibe to My Universe with Coldplay. I don't think it'll sound the same, but just the idea of so many people on one track, and I'm hoping we will get a music video with BTS in it, so look forward to that. There's also been a HYBE announcement of a cooking or recipe book that would be inspired by BTS. We don't know if BTS themselves wrote this book. It's probably not written by them, but that doesn't mean the recipes aren't BTS. If you don't know or are new to the fandom, the boys are really good cooks and love cooking. If you watched Run BTS, Bon Voyage, In the Soup, or any of their reality shows, you'd see how often the boys cook and how good the food looks. They create really great Korean food. If you want to watch and react to those episodes and moments with me, just check out my Patreon. I will link it below. We can fangirl over these moments together. Also, I definitely want to react to In the Soup Friendcation soon as well, but anywho, with that said, a recipe book is literally perfect for BTS to have. It makes a lot of sense, and those of us who enjoy the reality shows have always wondered how to make what BTS is having, and now we all can have it as well. However, this announcement was met with some controversy, and people were upset. I mean, I honestly thought this was so clever and smart, but of course, there's always something to be upset about if you look for it. People and the fandom were saying how HYBE has been actively trying to ruin BTS's brand, and that BTS's brand is over. Basically saying that HYBE is doing anything they can to make money at this point and just doing the random stuff. But as I've mentioned, I think this is perfect for them to make because BTS cooks so much. There really isn't anything at this point that BTS can't release. So is it the worst thing for them to release as much as they can? I think it's pretty cool if they were asked to be able to have their hands and feet into every single genre, if you will. If you look at most American artists, they have everything. I mean, in what world does a singer have any right to make perfume or makeup? But artists do that all the time. And sometimes they're good products. We have JoJo Siwa, whose face is everywhere, and she has her face on every product that exists. I haven't heard anyone upset about that. They call her a girl boss and a great entrepreneur. But then BTS's face on a cooking book is them wanting money. Our current most innovative makeup brand, Fenty, has come from an artist, and who's to say that BTS can't create a big cookbook brand that will ultimately change things somehow? We don't know, because we don't know what's in the book yet. I don't think this ruins the BTS brand, and I don't think HYBE is just doing whatever. It seems like a good fit for BTS, and believe me when I say HYBE is more sensitive than we are to keeping the BTS brand alive and in good standing. Others were more upset that HYBE was making BTS look bad and ruining J-Hope's comeback, because J-Hope doesn't have a physical album, because people believe that HYBE was trying to save the environment, which is great and dandy, but this did get backlash because K-pop very much relies on physical sales to rank on the music charts. With digital sales, you can buy the album once and that's it. With physical sales, you can order 50 and all of those will help rank on the music charts. So there was backlash for HYBE's decision to not do that. And then people are now asking what happened to saving the environment, because the cookbook will be a physical one. Well, first off, this recipe book can't really be digital. You can't really enjoy a digital cookbook as much as you would enjoy a digital song. I personally think cooking with a recipe on my phone sucks. Recipe books by design are typically less wordy and all in one page in a book. This makes it easy to just pin it there or whatever, and easy to follow, and you don't have to turn the pages or use your hands when it's all sticky with eggs on it or something. On my phone, you'd have to scroll. You'd have to scroll past the photo, and then there's sometimes ads that pop up and oops, you just burnt your salmon. I am personally excited for this book. I just hope it's not too expensive. It's exciting to see all of the possible new things that are coming out. It was also interesting that there had been some news about the military status of BTS, and it seemed to be covered up. There definitely wasn't that many people talking about this, and I think it was because there was so much happening at once. Everything got pushed down. News site Reuters put out an article that the Korean parliament is still looking to see what they can do about the enlistment. I think my conspiracy, for Jin, it might be too late. I think he for sure is going, which of course, if we're going by that logic, BTS won't be fully BTS for a few years or so until he comes back. But it seems like BTS knew this already and had been heavily trying to work around this for a while. while. Now, Yoon, who I believe is the CEO currently of HYBE, Bang PD had stepped down a little while ago, so it's someone else now. But Yoon had apparently spoken with Reuters and mentioned that the boys talked about not performing as much or just kind of halting some activities because of exhaustion and all that. But allegedly, Yoon said that the real reason was because of the enlistment, and especially Jin's enlistment. If this is true, this answers a lot of questions I had. I was definitely wondering why it appeared like BTS was trying really hard to not officially put anything out. I think a lot of people noticed that they had a lull in their performances, and some people felt like the idea of releasing an anthology was a little weird. But that is just a theory. There could be a lot of less correlation between those things, but the company had talked about how the unknowing of what is going to happen to BTS had driven them to be quite unsure of what their next action is. This does kind of tie into what RM has said about not knowing what direction to go. RM mentioned not knowing what to do after 2020, which would have been initially when Jin was initially supposed to go. So I don't know for sure if the enlistment has been something that has constantly been on their mind and has determined whether or not they felt it was okay to tour or whatever. And if so, that is kind of disappointing. Choi, who is the Secretary General for the Korean Music Content Association, talked about how this has affected the boys so badly, saying that the boys have been tortured with hopes that won't come true. I almost felt so emotional reading this. I knew this was bad, but it never hit me because the boys talk about this so little, and when it's brought up, they often divert the subject or kind of just shrug it off. But it seems like it could be a big deal behind the scenes. Another news site I previously talked about, the main decision in which BTS could get exempt is public opinion. So if you're in Korea, then make your decision known to your local politician. These politicians lobby for you. So whatever your decision is and vote is, the politicians go into town hall or these government meetings and they fight for that vote. Jin had spoken about this before, saying that the company's message and whatever they decide for BTS is as good as his own words, and he stands by whatever HYBE says. Jin saying this and then hearing HYBE say what they said is pretty much a sign that he is upset, and it may have also confirmed that BTS may be enlisting soon. A ministry official had talked about adding K-pop to the arts and sports category that is eligible for exemption, and that requires careful consideration and fairness. Fairness to what exactly? I am curious exactly what the pushback is, because everyone in the industry seems to be okay with this idea because BTS has done a lot, but also it confuses me how K-pop was not in that category to begin with. Most of Korea's tourism was 100% from K-pop even before BTS. People in my school who wanted to visit Korea were all people who liked K-pop. They didn't know anything else about Korea. It was just the music. It's weird because even though BTS has impacted their own country in a physical way, they're still seen as people who haven't done as much or not as famous, but they've brought in millions and potentially billions of American dollars into Korea's economy, and government officials are still saying no. It was also said that Olympic athletes represent the nation where all Koreans go and cheer for their players or for the same team, but among those people cheering, you'll see that not all are BTS fans. If this is one of the reasons, that is the dumbest reason ever. Of course, you're not going to find as many music fans among a group of sports fans and vice versa. Sports fans would also not be a huge advocate of painters or art, yet that is exempt too. And if you want to determine how many people will cheer, well, BTS has a whole army of people that would easily cheer and make a lot of noise if you needed that. But what do you think? Do you think Jin has been upset? How do you think he feels? And how do you feel about the BTS cookbook? Let me know what you think. Make sure you check out my Patreon for more videos, link down below. I think it says lovely comment right here. Love you. Bye.